Recording. Awesome. Welcome. Thank you for joining. This is Learn to Code with Andra. Thank you to the Justice for Hire and World community to joining us. I am Andra Roxana Stanciu. I am an innovation engineer, and I'm the in character. I am the developer of Justice for Hire app. Out of character, I'm the co-founder and chief technology officer of Real World, the studio who's producing Justice for Hire. So making an app while making a movie about that app can be very exciting. I'm joined by two of our most active heroes. And this workshop idea came after I was asked, where do you learn how to code? Because there's a lot of noise nowadays. Everyone wants to learn to code. There's the big blockchain and Bitcoin and NFT, and aside from that, apps and everything that you hear, all what's trendy now. My approach to this, my mission is to enable innovation through technology and knowledge transfer. And my approach to this is fundamentals first, because by focusing on what is current, we neglect what is permanent. Shifting our approach to fundamentals first will give us a solid foundation to build and to learn anything that we want to in this tech space, which is so huge and it's advancing literally every second. So I'm titling this presentation, and this is the first workshop, but I'm starting a series called Fundamentals First: How to Build Your Minimum Viable Developer Self. In this innovation market, in the innovation market, you're going to hear a lot about minimum viable product, minimum viable developer is the equivalent that I found for the same way as you need a minimum viable product to go to market, you need to be a minimum viable developer in order to start a career in tech, and specifically in coding. A bit about me: this is my hometown. I'm originally from Romania, in the heart of Transylvania. No, I'm not a vampire. I have a bachelor degree in mathematics and computer science and a master's degree in data science for business support. Why I'm sharing this with you, not to just flag my credentials, but I'm coming from a traditional background, and I'm coming from being in the software engineering field for 20 years almost. So I've seen trends coming and going, but I've noticed that what stays is the fundamentals, hence my presentation and my approach to the question, where do I start learning to code? So let's make it a bit interactive. That's how I love to do this. On a scale from 0 to 10, how confused are you when you want to start coding? And I'm gonna just start with Michael, because this workshop idea started with his question. So if you want to chime in, please.
Let's say a 6.
Oh, okay. That's good. Girl?
10 being super confused and 1 being not confused at all?
Exactly.
About like an 8.
Okay, that's good. That's good. No worries. I will say this. I had one student a few years ago back in Chicago. She was a forensic analyst with the Chicago PD, and she wanted to learn how to code. There are so many similarities between forensic analysis and data science. You just need to know how to reframe all those skills into the tech field. Fortunately, after working a few months with me, she got a job as a data scientist. She has this amazing job now, and she's very happy. She wrote me this beautiful letter saying that learning to code and reframing all her skills into and putting them in practice into the software engineering field gave her such a freedom. She can work from anywhere. She can just pull out her laptop, start working. She has a beautiful family. So the freedom, from confusion to freedom when it comes to coding, it's a very short path. If you have the opportunity to reframe, you already have probably 80% of the skills needed. And as I like to say, the same way as you learn how to dance, the same way as you learn skating, coding is becoming a skill, one of those skills. Anyone and everyone needs to learn how to code. What sets apart coders and code monkeys from engineers and developers is their mindset and how they put together all of their skills into solving problems. Practically, coding is just solving problems through code. And everything starts, let me just go back here. Okay, so as you've heard, so apps, websites, blockchain, NFT, these are the current trends and the noise that's everywhere, and everyone wants to learn how to code. But in my almost 20 years of being in the software engineering field and learning 10 programming languages, this here it's everything that you need to know. So fundamental data structures, memory, speed, and paradigms. So let's start with fundamental data structures. Arrays, linked lists, hash tables, trees, and graphs. When it comes to memory, how the memory is organized on a computer is the stack, the heap. With the stack and the heap is David is here, is to I just wanted to make sure it's recording. Okay. Okay, let me go back. There's two principles, LIFO and FIFO. You're gonna hear about it when it comes to organizing the memory. Last in, first out, and first in, first out. So if you were to describe to me in plain English what a stack is in comparison to a heap, who would want to give it a try? Michael? You're muted.
I'm pretty sure I'd get that wrong.
No, please go ahead. There's no wrong answer. The only wrong answer is no answer. So how do you organize a stack?
Well, a stack is usually things of similar size on top of each other.
On top
where
of
a heap is unstructured, things that can be any size, shape, or consistency just piled together.
Exactly. So if I were to ask you, how do you think a stack is formed? By first in, first out, or last in, first out?
Well, with a stack,
When
you pile it up, whatever is on top is the first you can get.
Okay, so that means that last in is the first out.
Sounds about right to me, yeah.
Cool. See, you got it.
Yeah.
It's
pretty intuitive.
Yeah. Everything is intuitive when it comes to the stack and the heap. And to programming languages, you just need to take like 5 seconds to ask how you would do it in natural language and then translate it. For example, who wants to try to explain what's the difference between concurrency and parallelism? Again, the only wrong answer is no answer.
I'll go.
Okay.
So concurrency is something that goes on and on and on and on and on forever, and parallelism is two things that go side by side to an end.
Okay. Exactly. So when it comes to executing code, it means that concurrency means executing in the same time. And
wouldn't it be one after the other?
Yes, exactly.
And then parallelism is executing it at the same time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a trick question, but you got it. The same way as when you organize, so data structures are for organizing data, arrays, trees. So the structures, exactly like a tree is structured, the same way you can organize your data. And there's certain paradigms that you need to know. They are relational databases, description languages, data description language, and data modeling language, the big O notation. So guys, practically the fundamentals of programming languages and of coding are all on this slide. So when it comes to relational databases, there's a language for description of the data and for modeling the data, meaning the relation between how it is the data is organized. The big O notation is the complexity of a code, of a piece of code, meaning how much heap space takes, how much memory it takes, how many operations you make, the compiler makes. Someone asked me, I think it was you, Michael, who asked me what's the difference between the source code and the object code. So the source code is the code that you're writing, and the object code is the code that's obtained after the compiler. So in the process of coding, so it's source code, it gets compiled into object code, then it gets interpreted if there's an interpreter, and yeah, that's the difference between source code and object code.
So it's input-output kind of.
Exactly. Not necessarily. In the process between the input and the output, first step is the source code, then it's object code, and then the output. The interpreter, and depending on the type of, for example, if it's a distributed programming language, or if it's an interpreter, or if it's a functional programming, there's different stages based on each programming language. You will see a lot of OOP. I'm giving you some tools just to comb through all the information, but I'm more than happy, and I'm here to answer any questions at any moment. When it comes to object-oriented programming, functional programming, model view controller, and component-based design. So these are paradigms of programming languages. And for example, MVC comes from model view controller. So you will see that the architecture of that solution has a model, a view, and a controller, where the operations are done. I know this might be a lot. Let me know if there's any questions until now.
I guess just on if we know what a stack is, and that's last in, first out, how does a heap differ in that sense?
That's first in, first out. That's the and how the memory is allocated. So let me see if I got, can you ask your question once again?
Sure, sure. I was saying if a stack is very easy to understand because you have a stack of something, you know, say books, CDs, whatever. That's a very easy visual.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if the heap was, sorry, I've got some car alarms on my side. Don't know if you hear that.
Okay.
Anyway, so a heap. I was wondering if there's as clear interpretation of that, or if it's more just something that you pick up as a contrast to a stack.
No, not necessarily. It's all about how you want to allocate. So when I said the two principles of memory allocation,
Yes.
LIFO and FIFO, if last in, first out is the stack, that means that the heap, which is random and it's used for hierarchy, is first in, first out. Just imagine if you would want to access, let's say something is organized in a heap, and that means that first in would be first out.
Yes.
That means that to access the first one, how, when it comes to the, now we go into the big O notation. When it goes to the complexity of accessing a certain memory slot, how do you think what would be the effort to do it? Would it be bigger or smaller than the stack?
I'd assume bigger.
Of course.
So this might be useful to you or not, but a real world analogy then would be like a cup dispenser.
Exactly.
Where you feeds from the bottom. Don't know if that's any good to you, but that's what I guess.
No, it's very good. It's very good. So if you want to, exactly. Everything has everything from, I have a short story. I left it for the end, but everything from our real life has an equivalent in coding and programming languages. So it's not rocket science. It was, but fortunately, because of the work of my colleagues and how technology is advancing, it has become very, my first interaction with software was when I went to visit my mom. I was like, I think I was 4 or 5. And she was working and programming on punch cards. In those times when, if you remember, there's a picture that circulates every year when there's the programmers day, when a woman was programming and was showing that like a software, a piece of code was like on this much paper. That was in the mid 80s, late 80s, when this was just becoming to be something, programming. And if you think about how it evolved and how accessible and easy it becomes, it's just due to the science of it. And having this understanding and making this connection between the natural language and the programming language will give you such an ease and it's a unique approach. I'm not condemning, or I'm all for learning from any source, but I don't go to Stack Overflow, for example, to learn how to code. I go to Stack Overflow maybe when I'm debugging something, but even then, I don't copy paste. There's this like, oh, just try it and see. For me, that's how everyone else or someone else thought about that particular problem. If I think about the problem firsthand, I go to the fundamentals, I don't find a solution, then I might go and see how other people did it. But by copy pasting a solution that worked for someone else, that solution worked in a certain context. The context is not always the same. And when we have, like, I can give the example of Justice for Hire, I can give the example of all the other platforms that I've built, the context is very unique. And the variables and the parameters of that context are not the same. So when we think how uniquely our mind is and our approach, we just need the tools which I'm giving you now, which in my opinion are the fundamentals. So yeah, let's move on if there's no other questions here. Are there? Guru?
I think I'm good.
David?
No, I'm good.
Gotcha. Okay, if it's too confusing, let me know. We're gonna do a small exercise after. So so again, from natural language to programming language. Obviously, my first language is not English. I'm from Romania. My first language is Romanian. I've learned English and German. I studied English and German. I went to school in high school and in grad school. I studied in English. I think I spoke English most of my life, more than Romanian. But aside from this, I also speak Spanish, German. I do understand French, but I don't speak it. Why? Because I had a special interest for grammar, for how words are connected and how sentences are being built. So practically, if you think of natural language, that's practically a natural language. Spanish, Romanian, English. And then the same way as those languages are built, the same way are programming languages. I do speak more programming languages than natural languages. I think around 10. I started with Pascal, Visual Basic, C, C++, a bit of Fortran, Java and then everything else that falls from there, like React, Ruby on Rails, which in my opinion are for lazy people, but I can say it's lazy because I got into coding when it was still an emerging approach, but it's amazing how it evolved and how easy it became. So that's my take on it. Just think of a programming language like natural language, exactly like, hey, I want to learn Java, or I want to learn C, or I want to learn, for example, C and C++, and Visual C is still used for like the precursor of Unity for games. So there's certain segments of the tech market which use different programming languages. We can get into that now or later. But again, everything comes from that one slide that I shared earlier, which is fundamentals. The fundamental data structures, understanding how the memory is allocated, the hardware memory, and the speed, and the programming paradigm. Let's see. Okay, so I have a quick story. And this is the conclusion, that technology isn't always perfect. It's always improving. For example, one of my favorite stories, because it began when I was born in 1985, is that in 1985, IBM started developing the Deep Blue, the computer that was supposed to beat Kasparov at chess. They were claiming that the computer will beat a human in chess. That did not happen until late 90s, I think 1997. Kasparov, I think, quit one of the races, but he was playing against the computer. That's so fascinating. I have more. So yeah, the development for Deep Blue began in 1985. I was born in 1985, so for me it's very fascinating. It began with a chip test project at Carnegie Mellon University. IBM built a computer that claimed it can beat a world champion in chess. It couldn't. The computer lost to Garry Kasparov. IBM made some tweaks and Deep Blue won the rematch. Today, any of us can download free chess software in our phones that would demolish Kasparov practically. So on May 11, 1997, an IBM computer called Deep Blue beat the world chess champion after a 6-game match. 2 wins for IBM, 1 for the champion, and 3 draws. The match lasted several days and received massive media coverage around the world. So if in the beginning, this proves that technology isn't perfect, but it's improving. From what began in 1985 to what happened in 1997, and nowadays when we can download chess and play on our phones, science evolves, and it evolves based on, we've seen the progress of our platform, Justice for Hire, through our collaboration, like getting input from the people who are actually using it, and the people building it, applying those into the software. We've seen how much the platform evolved in just a year. And I'm super curious and I'm super excited to see where it will get in another few years. So when it comes to you learning how to code, as I said, the worst answer is no answer. There's no bad answer. Give it a try. Even IBM did in 1985, the year I was born, so 37 years ago. And nowadays, everything's so accessible. You just need a tool to comb through all the massive information that's out there. And the best tool to do this and to filter, to sift through everything is fundamentals. So for the rest of, we have, oh my God, it's already, time flies when you're having fun. Thank you so much. So for the rest of our time, I would just want to do an exercise with you guys. Like, let's describe in natural language the workflow of, let's choose an app, one that you love. I mean, Justice for Hire, we're doing every Wednesday. So let's pick something, let's say that you want to develop an app and you want to learn how to code that app. Let's see how the data, how we would organize the data, organize it based on the object-oriented principles, programming principles, which is inheritance, the base one, and explain how you would implement it in pseudocode. Now, what I mean by pseudocode is the first, it's like breaking down your sentences when you describe the app, breaking it into instructions, like you would tell someone how to do that. And then we will try to do a bit of modeling of databases, of the databases tables, and we will correlate it with the structure of the sentences. So we have, let's say, more or less 15 minutes. We can go, it's 3 people attending, so we can try 5 minutes each to go into choose an app or think of an app that you want to develop, and let's start with coding it in natural language. Yes, Guru.
Okay, I have an idea,
Sure.
or I have an app idea.
Go ahead.
Okay. The app idea I was thinking about was having a space that can having an app that lets you know all the shows you're watching currently and when there's a new one.
Okay, that's super awesome. By the way, quick thing, I'm planning on doing this at least once a month. So if you want to be part, we can make this like our own mini series and just start doing this every month, and we can see where this would go, and you would have your own apps. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So, okay, this is the statement of the problem. Let's think, I'm looking at the watch as well, the clock. Let's think, what's the problem, and what would be the steps to a first solution? Try it out, talk it out, Guru.
The steps to a first solution?
Yeah, let's see. So let's describe it. Let's describe the workflow. And when I say the workflow, the steps that you will need to take to get to a platform that gives you what you said. I'm not saying more. I want to let you talk.
Oh, okay.
So I can just guide you.
I think the steps I would need to create a landing page.
I'm not interested into that. I'm just interested into, not yet.
Okay.
That's one way to do it. That's not coding. That's just a website, which is a different.
Right.
That's not software. We can talk about that in a future session. Just how the problem. So what's the problem? You want to have an app that shows you. Say it again.
Okay, I want an app that shows me all the current shows I'm watching and when there's a new one out.
Cool. Okay, plain English. Let's analyze this sentence. What's the subject? What's the predicate? What's the action that it needs to take? Shows you're watching. Where would you get those shows?
I mean, they're on multiple different platforms. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So would your app integrate with all those platforms?
Yes.
Okay. That's the first step. You can write that down. Next. So it will go through all your accounts on the streaming platforms and get what? A list, or how do you want to, let's go to the data structures. You know what? Let's go here to this page. I think this will be very helpful.
Okay.
So would you want to see like a list of all the shows you're watching? You would choose a linked list, no?
I think I would love to see it as sectioned out as a list, but per, I guess, service. So you'd have whatever you're watching on Netflix currently, whatever you're watching on Hulu currently, that keeps you.
So that's a map. That's a map, or it can be a tree. But let's say that can be a map. The key would be the platform and the values. like a dictionary, no? That's another
Yes.
one. That's another data structure, but I didn't put it here because these are the fundamental ones. Map is built on this fundamental. So let's see. This is how we're gonna think about the initial version of the implementation. What data structure, what data structures we will need, and what paradigms we're gonna use. And we have like 1 more minute for this first thing. So we said we're gonna have like a map with where the key is the streaming platform, and the value is a list of all the shows that you're watching on that particular platform.
Yes.
Awesome. This is an awesome app. Let's develop it.
I'm down. Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. Keep this in mind. We're gonna go to the next one, and at the next session, we're gonna go further with our implementations. Okay.
Okay.
But this is just an exercise to understand how you connect the natural language to the data structures, and then to get to coding. Okay.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. I hope it was helpful. Michael or David, who wants to go next?
I've got one.
Okay, go ahead.
So this might not be appropriate, so let me know if I should stop, right? My concept is called duck off. The concept is to be able to access your autocorrector. And yeah, you kind of see where that goes. Basically, a lot of the time, your autocorrector has a bunch of things that you don't want to say that can be complicated or embarrassing, or just outright wrong. And you can access it, at least on I have an Android, you can access it manually and add or remove certain words and terms. But I was thinking that there should be an app that has a starter pack of words that people very commonly don't want autocorrected. I'm not going to say the key one because, you know, we're on video right now.
And
the idea, there's a certain word that's very commonly corrected as duck, and that annoys a lot of people. I know, a bit edgy, but
it's not. I'm okay. This is awesome because the whole goal of technology and learning to code is to solve real world problems. So this is a real world problem, aside from climate change and all that, but we won't go into that discussion now. This is a great idea, Michael. And let's take a few minutes, like your allotted time. Guru is having fun. I mean, you would use such an app, wouldn't you use this app, Guru?
100%.
See, and a lot of people would, because it's annoying.
Is very annoying.
Yeah, it's annoying. So of course, cool. So let's think about the first version, like describing natural language. You did put the problem statement. You presented the problem statement. Let's see what the steps that we would need to take.
Well, ideally, it would be as plug and play as possible. There would be certain words that are already fixed based on general consensus, you know, poll some people first, but that's not really part of that. But then ideally some functionality to be able to change a lot of words quickly if you have something personal. Like I used to have a boss who used to really like speaking in slang, and he would always write though as THO, which autocorrect hates. But it's how he liked to do it, you know? Most people don't, but it's just how he liked to talk, and it would save him a lot of time if it just did the way he wanted the first time. So I would like to have a bunch of starter words, then room for customization, which you can do on the phone. It's just not as user-friendly. I don't know of a way that lets you change a bunch of words at once. Just you can change them manually, which is something that a lot of people I think could figure out but don't want to.
Yeah, so in terms of the data structures, let's say, because then we will learn in the next edition of fundamentals first, about different apps, technologies, and how to mobile or desktop or iOS or Android. But before that, so you would need the list of, let's say, the list of words. What would be the input? Like you would say for your boss, the slang, the list of words that he uses.
Yeah, it would have to add though THO as a word and just prevent it from autocorrecting it to the full word, which I don't think would be a common one. The common one, inspiration for this is up, in the name. Like if there's a certain word I don't want to say because we're on your video, that's commonly corrected to duck.
Yeah.
So that would be the first one. Just, the joke and the app duck off,
I would go and buy that domain like right now, because this is like $1 million idea.
I'm sure someone has the domain.
Probably. And yeah, this is another thing. Any idea that we have, there's someone out there already working on it or tried to work on it. So my ideal scenario is that we would partner with those people, because working together, like, the saying, and I love it. If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. So depending on what you're choosing, I would go far. So I would partner with people that have the same interests and do it together with them. This is a general life approach. Cool. Okay. This is amazing, Michael. I want to build this app.
Great.
So yeah. Okay, David, you are at work or you're joining us? I think he's at work.
Probably.
Thank you for joining us either way. We are open. I'm open to questions in private as well. For the remaining 6 minutes, is there anything, like, I'm down to take this like once a month, to do this like a fun project, a joint project aside from our Wednesday sessions, and just to see how we apply the fundamentals to actually build solutions. Any thoughts, questions, remarks?
I guess just on how far you want to go with this. Like, did you want more people into it, or keep the group to like 10 or 5, or what were you thinking?
So honestly, this is evolving into something really awesome. And I would this is my life's mission, to coach startups, coach people into coding and how to apply coding to solve a problem that they have, and usually with mass, at the level of global solutions. So I would totally love if we transform this into, let's see how crazy it gets. If you want to join me, like, I can start like a mail list and do this like our own series on fundamentals first. And let's see, people can join, and we can see, we can really observe how something small, like 3 people, evolve into 10, or how many will join. If you want to contribute with writing, with just let's see, I can put together a page where we can document our adventure and see how from just a workshop of me offering some knowledge transforms into at least 2 new awesome projects. This is Andra 1-to-1. This is what Andra, Roxana, Stanciu is doing for the past 20 years and probably for the rest of my life. So yeah, let's see how crazy it gets. And then we can organize into sub, you know, then you can teach someone else and add more and more people. This would be really fun. If you're on board, I am in.
Well,
Heck
since you
yeah.
mentioned writing, that's probably my strong suit.
Okay, cool. And Guru, what role do you want to take?
For which specifically?
So if we're gonna do this every month, at least once a month,
Mhm.
I'm thinking of having our own platform where we practically document and observe the progress of our idea from applying my fundamentals first. Probably that's how I'm gonna call the page. From applying this and how big it will get, and see how long it will take us for an MVP, a minimum viable product, and how from a piece of code it can become its own tech giant.
Heck yeah. I mean, I'm in.
Okay, we're gonna let you know what we need. Probably
All right.
we're gonna need some cool merch.
I got you.
Awesome.
Let me know where you need me.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So I'll see you next month for this, but I'll see you on Wednesday for Justice for Hire and Real World. And remember that if you are focused on the trends, it's good, it's one thing, but I would advise you to focus on the fundamentals and what is permanent. Because by having a strong foundation, you can paint the walls of that house how many colors you have, but if you don't, how many colors you want, but if you don't have a foundation, those walls will fall apart.
Woo!
Thank you.
All right.
Let me stop
Thank you.
recording. See you next time.